early last century replicas, probably after Babylonian patterns. The antique world, on a not-so-antique globe. All that glitters is not gold.
We might have a choice, Mr. Nirgesh. The boy may have come to the library for books on Istvan Hotvani or the Kobo meteorite.
I don't remember. Or he asked a colleague of mine. But if he was just inquiring, it wouldn't be on the records anyway.
I see. So we're not getting anywhere.
You know what? Visit the museum on the ground floor. Piroshka might know. Actually, her husband Geza Palfi wrote a monograph about Hatvani. And the Kaba meteorite is also on display there.
I will. Thanks for the information. Madam, I'm back.
I've got the letter. Do you want to read it?
Certainly. Thank you.
Here it is. Just take your time, but please give it back before you leave. And handle it with care. It can be really valuable if it's original.
I will.
As an expert, I should say this letter is authentic, all right. Maybe Professor Palfi didn't hurry to prove it so that he could keep this valuable document. One day it may help Piroshko overcome hard times. But let's see what Istvan Hatvani writes.
Thank you for letting me have a look at this letter, madam.
You're welcome. You don't seem as excited as Bolash was.
No. Although this document is most interesting and seems very important. Professor Hatvani says here that he left the stone in the custody of one of his schoolmates who served in the, small church. Do you know if this small church still exists?
Certainly, it's still there downtown, with a unique bastion-like tower. You cannot miss it. But you're not thinking seriously of going there and asking for Hatvani's stone, are you?
Why not? If the church is so old, maybe there's a trace of everything.
Well, I admire your enthusiasm, Mr. Hunt.
Nice and cool here, and a distinct odor. a breeze from the past. It's ticking. Looks the same as in the old times, but inside, the mechanism may have been transformed. He's a young man, but this milieu makes him look much older.
Good morning. Am I disturbing?
Peace and blessings. At your service, sir.
My name is Jonathan Hunt. I'm an American journalist of Hungarian origin. Or I could say I'm a Hungarian journalist from America.
Ah, that's most interesting. My name is Dominique Ostelosh. How can I help you?
Do you happen to know a young man called Balazs Gal? He's 18 or 19, recently finished grammar school.
I have to disappoint you. I don't remember a boy by this name.
Reverend Ostelosh, I'd like to ask you about Professor István Hatvany.
Ah, the Hungarian Faust. He lived in Debrecen, a polyhistor of his time. They say he had a pact with the devil. Is your article about him?
No. In fact, it's a kind of investigation. I'd like to clarify a few fuzzy details of his life. I'm on the assumption that these yet unknown details may have an impact on certain things in our present.
Is that so? How exciting. But how can I assist your research?
There's a letter by Professor Hatvany. He writes that he had a meteorite which he bought in Utrecht. He left this meteorite with a former schoolmate for safekeeping. At that time, the man served in this church.
And you want me to tell you who this schoolmate of his was?
Unless you can show me the meteorite itself.
That's what I call a vivid imagination, sir. Anyhow, I could consult the archives to see who Hatvany's contemporaries were. As for his schoolmates, the Reformed College ought to be able to help.
Actually, I've been there already.
Then I suggest that you return there and ask for the archives or the library. Then come back if you find out anything. In the meantime, I will check our records for possible matches.
Excellent. Despite your doubts, I'm sure I will come up with something. Morning. Could you check if there's any data about Professor Hatvany's schoolmates?
Here? In the Reformed College of Debrecen?
Yes. First half of the 18th century.
Let me see. This is it. There are an awful lot of names here. Any idea for filtering?
Yes. We're looking for a person who became a pastor in Debrecen.
I see. This is more than enough to trace. Here are a few names recorded to have become pastors later. Shall I print it out for you?
Yes, please. Excellent.
Here it is.
Thanks. Peace and blessings.
To God be the glory. So you have returned.
Yes, I've got some information.
And here's a list of contemporaries from the second half of the 18th century.
Thank you. Let me have a closer look.
Just take your time.
The lists of schoolmates and clergymen. Now, who's the one who guarded Professor Hatvani's stone?
Are you really going to tell me a name?
I believe so.
Yes, he served in our church, but are you sure he's on the list of schoolmates too?
Yes, I'm perfectly sure.
All right then, 1 second please. Mr. Journalist, you are very lucky. We've got the name, and what's more, there's an annotation too.
Huh. Does it mention the stone?
No, but now we know why not. It says that this pastor officiated the funeral of Professor Hatvani on the 16th of November in 1786, and the chest which he had kept for the professor was placed in the coffin. That stone might have been in that chest.
Quite likely. So the meteorite was buried with the professor and with anything else that might have been in the chest. Reverend Ostelos, does the note say which cemetery it was?
I'm afraid not, but I hope you don't want to disturb the late professor's remains.
No. I just hope the traces will not vanish here.
Well, good luck. Come back if we can be of any more help.
Good morning, Mr. Mouragny.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Can you tell me where Professor Dr. Istvan Hatvani was buried? The year is 1786.
That was, a long time ago. Well, I'm afraid we have no such data. Anything else?
Not at the moment, thank you. I'll be back. Do you have any information about Professor Hatvani's burial?
His tombstone, you mean?
Why? You know where it is?
Of course. It's outside in the foyer. Have a look for yourself.
Wow. How could I have missed it? Do you know which cemetery Professor Hatvani was buried?
Let me think. Oh, I've got it. Originally, he was buried in a cemetery on Petafia Street, but that cemetery is no longer there. It used to be in the area where the Otomki buildings are now. Look, I'll show you an old map.
Oh, thank you. Maybe right below Otomki?
I don't know exactly, nor do I know when the cemetery was demolished.
Demolished, yes. Lots of relics might have vanished. Thanks for your help. Could you check what happened to the cemetery that used to be on Peter Fio Street?
Was there a cemetery? Well, indeed. It was demolished in 1810.
Any details?
I'm afraid, sir, we don't have any more information on this cemetery.
I see. Thank you.
Naive paintings. Today, we'd call this graffiti, I think. Is this the one? What negligence! However, it doesn't seem to tell me anything new.
I saw the tombstone. How did you get it? And where's the tomb itself?
It was used as a curbstone in a civil house. They had no idea whose tombstone it really was.
How's that possible?
You see, the cemetery where the professor had been buried was demolished a long time ago. And in such cases...
Yes, I know what happens in such cases.
They throw the human remains into a mass grave, and everything of some value is carried away.
So, a dead end. Listen, I've learned that Hatvani was buried with a locked chest in his coffin. How can I find out what happened to the grave and the honorable professor's coffin?
It might be impossible. You see, the cemetery was demolished, and nobody cared about the remains of the famous polyhistor.
Which cemetery was it?
No, the museum or a church might have some records, but I promise you to check if there's any trace of the Hatvani heritage in our library. If you come back later...
I will, Mr. Nirgash. Peace and blessings.
To God be the glory. How can I help you?
I've learned that Professor Hatvani was buried in the Peterfio Cemetery in 1786. Later, the cemetery was demolished. Do you know anything about this?
No, we don't keep records of these things, but such demolitions were always done under supervision. Important things might have been returned to the heirs.
If this is the case, I should find it. Please forgive me for disturbing you with such a silly question, but do you know anything about a chest in Hatvani's heritage, acquired by the college after 1810?
This isn't a silly question at all, but I don't know the answer. If I were you, I'd ask the archives.
Ah, thank you. I'll do that. I have a difficult question. Is there any document from 1810, around the time the cemetery was demolished, that might suggest that someone donated to the Reformed College an object which was found in a grave?
What do you mean, exactly?
Well, looking at the year 1810 and records about donations or acquisitions.
I'll try. There's something here, but we should filter.
You know what? We're looking for a chest, and a meteorite in the chest, a mineral, a reference to Hatvani.
There is something of the kind here.
Is there? Don't hold back.
Okay. In that year, a chest was brought to the college. It says the chest was heritage from the grave of Hatvani. There's a mineral in it and some papers with the professor's handwriting in very bad condition. Is this what you're looking for?
You bet it is. Does it say who got the chest?
Yes. A professor named Mihai Elekishtot. And that's all.
Mihai Elekeshtot. Thank you, Mr. Murani. I'm back. Did you find anything on the Hatvani heritage?
Not too much. His manuscripts, autobiography, and memoirs went to his son-in-law, Joseph Miles. Parts of these were published in 1872 and 1894. The Hatvani family's documents were in the possession of Miklos Miles, who was a reformed evangelical clergyman.
Maybe I should find out more about the Miles brothers.
No, I don't think you should. It says here the heritage went astray decades ago.
You have a point there. Thank you. There's progress, Mr. Niragesh. In the 19th century, a professor of the college is known to have seen the meteorite, which was found in Professor Hatvani's coffin. His name is...
Wait, isn't it Mihai Elekeshtot?
He's the one, all right.
How come I didn't think of him before? We've got a file with some documents about Elekeshtot. I showed it to someone just recently. It was a guy about 20, dark hair, and his name was Bolaz.
What?
But he wasn't Bolaz Khan. He had some other name. I can't remember. Sounded like Dracula or some dragon.
Drake? Wiver?
No. Anyway, I gave this guy that thin gray folder. I'm going to fetch it for you now. I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt, but I can't find it. Although I firmly remember it was a few days ago.
He may have taken it.
No, because that document cannot be borrowed. It must be read here. It wasn't public because, for some reason, Gizo Palfi didn't finish the research. So it's incomplete. If I knew where I put it.
Could you check once more?
Shall we put it off until tomorrow? I'll check again first thing in the morning and call you.
Tomorrow is fine. Sorry for pressing you. Does the name Mihai Elekeshtot mean anything to you?
Yes, it does. Two things. First, Bolaj asked me about this man. Second, my husband had started a research about him years ago, but for some reason he didn't finish it. I told Bolaj we don't have the research material, but as far as I know, all the resources came from the college.
I see. Do you happen to know why your husband was so interested in Elekeshtot's life?
No, and I don't remember why the research came to an end. So sorry.
No problem. You've helped me a lot, madam. Hi, Vero.
Hi. Where are you? I've looked all over for you.
I'm on the track. I had to go to the Reformed College and to a church.
You went to church?
Yes. I still don't know too much, but I have a lead to follow. Your good brother's been after a meteorite which hit the Earth hundreds of years ago.
Is he now? And what on earth does he want with that meteorite?
No idea. But as I said, there's more to find out. Tomorrow is another day.
Of course. But I'm so terribly upset.
Oh, come on. I do what I can. And in any case, you can always rely on the helping hand of Mr. Leotsky and his connections.
I trust you so much, Jonathan.
We might know a lot more by tomorrow. I'll call you.
Wait! Don't hang up just yet. Aren't you hungry? I mean, we could have dinner together.
Excellent idea. Do you know a good restaurant?
A restaurant? Of course. A cozy, romantic place. Just next door.
Is it? All right, I'll pick you up in half an hour.
I'm waiting for you. Bye.
You do know some trick, Jonathan.
Do I? What do you mean?
I mean, I was down all day today, but now I feel a lot more comfortable.
Though, let's face it, I've not been successful finding anything comforting.
That's true. But you know what? I don't want to face it at all right now. That was a great dinner.
Your suggestion was great.
Now you don't want to leave me here alone, do you? Would you see me home?
That is the gentlemanly way, isn't it?